Hey guys, my latest eBay purchase just arrived, so let's have a look at it. They seem to have packed it quite well. I like all the stamps they used on here. So I've already cut the seam. A decent amount of packing material. Oh, it's double boxed. How delightful. This is the way everything fragile should be shipped. A box and a box with a little padding between. Alright, this might have actually survived. Unlike some of the other items I've gotten recently. Well, what this is another UHF converter. Oh, it's sucker's heavy. Whichever it's Bakelite or plastic. I think it's plastic. Wow, this thing is really heavy. It must be a huge power transformer in there. Usually these things don't weigh that much. This has got to be like 15 pounds. Alright, we'll take it out of the box and let's take a closer look at it. Here it is out of the box. I've gone over it, and indeed it is unbroken, unlike two of the other ones I got a while ago. One of my other ones, the cabinet broke, and on another, the glass dial face broke. But this one is intact, I'm happy to say. So what this does is, there's a 3-position mode switch down here, off, VHF, UHF. Off, of course, it's off. VHF, well, here, I'll shoot back. So you hook up a UHF antenna, like one of those, and you hook up a VHF antenna, like one of those, and then you take the output and go to your TV. So in VHF mode, it passes through the VHF antenna. In UHF mode, it actually down converts it from the 14 to 83 UHF band down to the VHF band, probably on channels 3, 4, or 5. So it looks like a cable box where you keep your TV on one channel and use this to tune. This is for sets, of course. It didn't have UHF tuners, only VHF tuners. I was flipping through some of my rider's service manuals the other day, and I was surprised to find the RCA-U70 UHF converter. So they, in addition to TVs, those rider's service manuals also have some of the UHF converters. So I'm going to take a look and see if I can find this model. Here's something very handy I picked up on eBay recently. It's an index for volumes 1 through 15, so I can look up models in here and it tells you which of those books it's in, so I don't have to dig through all these moldy old service manuals. I can flip through here and find out which one it's in and on what page it's on. So let's see. Regency. It says see idea. I've heard of Regency, never heard of idea before, but okay, let's look that up. Idea, Regency, and there we go, RC-600 UHF converter. That's this model. It's in volume 12, which I just so happen to have around here somewhere. Pull it out, let's take a look. I'll also pop the back off of this so I can take a look inside and see if I could figure out why it's so darn heavy. Once I pulled the knobs off and removed 2 screws, the chassis came out quite easily. So, the weight, well, there's certainly a power transformer here, it adds a bit of weight, and then this crazy looking tuning contraption is actually quite heavy as well. I wonder if that was intentional to maybe keep this more stable, to cut down vibrations or something like that. I've only found one tube so far. It's in this really strange looking depression here, and then there's this cloth wrapped around it. I guess that's how you pull the tube out. I've never seen anything quite like it before. So it sits right dead center in this big metal housing here. It's probably a 6AF4. That's the UHF oscillator mixer that most of these converters used. Although it does say 6BK7 here, and that's not a tube number I'm familiar with. Piece of cardboard covering the bottom here. Let's see if I can get that off so we can take a better look under there. Not quite sure what's holding it on. Oh, I see, there's a snap there. I'll have to take that off. In the meantime, I did locate volume 12 of the rider's service manual, so let's see if we can find this guy. It's Emerson. I guess it'll be under idea. Crafters. Hoffman. Alright, there she is. Regency RC-600. Blah, blah, blah. So they tell you how to use it. Huh. This output's on channel 10. That I have not seen before. All the other ones I have use stations 4 or 5. It's installation, operation, servicing procedure. Huh, there's a 6BK7 tube. They call that thing a tuning drum. Oh, there is also a 6AF4 tube somewhere hiding in there. Check the schematic on the next page. There it is. It's pretty darn simple. Okay, 6BK7 is an IF amp. So not only does this convert from UHF to VHF, it does a little bit of amplifying too. There's a couple diodes in here. That's why the component count's fairly low, or rather, that's why the tube count is so low. So they use one diode here for a rectifier on the DC, a couple filter caps, and then there's another one here they use for the mixer. When you work with frequencies this high, the circuits get kind of crazy. For the inductors, usually they just strip some metal. And likewise, the capacitors are very small. Inductors, you know, just maybe just a little scrap of wire, maybe just one little small kink in it, rather than a whole bunch of turns that you use at lower frequencies. So with the 6AF4 somewhere hiding inside there. I will see if I can get that cardboard shield off and maybe pop the covers off of this and see what's inside there. I removed the screw that was holding this plate on, and there is where the 6AF4 tube was hiding. It's kind of neat. There are a couple metal elements, one around the base and one on the side, that are just pressed up against the glass. At these high frequencies, that's how you can couple signals into the tube. I imagine one of them is like a tickler coil for the oscillator, and the other one is to feed a signal into the mixer. Now, since there are so few parts in this that can go bad, well, there's two tubes, and there's capacitor and there's a couple diodes. I imagine all the coils are fine, and probably the capacitors too, because they're just little bits of metal. So I'm going to take this into my workbench and try to do a slow power up on the variac to reform this electrolytic. And if all goes well, I'll then try hooking it up to a TV and see if I can pick up any stations. Alright, here, so I'm going to try to power this up. I've got it turned off right now. I've got a voltmeter hooked up across the main filter capacitor. And I've got to plug into my variac, which is turned all the way down. I'm going to turn this on now. And of course, reading 0 volts because I got this all the way down. I'm going to turn it up just a tad. And got about 5.5 volts DC, slowly climbing. That's a good sign. What I'm hoping to do is coax some life out of this electrolytic capacitor. There's a process called reforming the capacitor. And what you do is you slowly power it up while monitoring the current and keep the voltage low enough that you're not drawing excessive current. And hopefully, if the capacitor is reforming properly, the current going through the cap will diminish over time as the electrolyte and the plates reform. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the course of maybe an hour or so. I will slowly increase the voltage going out of my variac while I monitor the health of that capacitor by checking the voltage and the current. I'm up to 42 volts now. Things are looking good. Now, if you're wondering why the heck don't I just recap it and be done with it, well, sure, I could do that. And if I was going to use this for any extended period of time, I would. But really, this is not how I generally feed signals into my vintage TVs. We do still have a few low power UHF transmissions, and I do have a blonder tongue modulator that I could broadcast on the UHF band myself. But generally I use an RF modulator hardwired into the set, or I use my blonder tongue modulators and broadcast in the VHF band. So I just want to see if I can get this to work with a minimal amount of effort and expense. I've worked my way up to full AC power and everything seems to be fine. Tubes are even glowing. So I'm going to take this over to my recently restored Admiral 24812 and give it a try. Here's my collection of vintage UHF antennas. Only 2 of them have complete leads. I think I will go with this guy. Yeah, the spade terminals are in good condition, so these will screw right into the back of that converter. I hooked the antenna up to the converter, got the converter turned on. Should be warmed up now. And I've got my TV on, so let's see if we can find anything. There we go. Looks like it's around channel 28 on that, or maybe 26. So I recall there used to be the last time I checked there was still a transmission on 26. Very touchy tuning control, and it's not the greatest picture. There's no sound. Now part of the problem might be that I was never intending or never expected to use channel 10 on this set. So when I was aligning it, I didn't bother to check channel 10. There's a little tuning slug behind this plate. On the chassis there was a tuning coil for each channel. I tweaked it for channels 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 because we still have a local transmission on 6, but did not do 10. So I've got this at the extent of the fine-tuning range just to get this signal in. So I don't know if it's the converter that's bad or the set just doesn't pick up channel 10 very well. Yeah, I'm trying to carefully manipulate this knob, but there's really not much of a drive reduction. there's a dial cord that goes from this knob right into the tuner, and there's no gear reduction on it, so when I just barely turn this, it's actually changing the station quite a bit. It's hard to lock in on one. But let's see if we can find something else. Maybe it'll come in better. Alright, I'm all the way down to channel 14. So. Might actually be picking up the FM band down at this end. I'm not sure what all that mess was about, but anyways, working my way back up the dial now. Just about 20. Coming up on that one that we just saw a moment ago. Strange. I want to be able to find. Can't find it now. Well, just keep going up. I'll find something else. Oh, there's another station. Probably channel 38. Again, no, the picture quality is not so hot and there's no sound. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to grab a different antenna and I'm going to try this on a different TV. I switched to a different TV and a different antenna. This bow tie antenna is fairly directional. By rotating it, I can improve the picture somewhat, but it's still not that great. And I still don't have any sound. So next thing I'm going to do is pull out another UHF converter, a Motorola that I've used in the past, and it works fairly well. Because for all I know, these old analog UHF transmitters have decreased their power output, so just try to eliminate the variables of why this isn't working so well. I hooked up my Motorola Strata tuner with the same antenna, and that's working much better.
Whoa, who did that?
Got sound and a decent picture, so clearly the problem doesn't lie with the antenna or the UHF transmitting station. So, yeah, some of these stations are coming through really strong, so there must be something else wrong with this. I guess the easiest thing to try is to swap out the tubes. I know I have other 6AF4s. I don't know about that IF tube up front, though. I'm not familiar with that tube number, but I'll hunt around and see what I can find. I poked around through one of my tube caddies, and I did find what appear to be a new old stock 6BK7 and 6AF4. First, so let's test the old tubes. Here's how that one was rigged up with that little pole on it. They just threaded it through the leads there. I've got my tube tester set up for the 6AF4, so I'll test that guy first. Oh, well, what do you know? It's got a 6T4 in it, not a 6AF4 at all. Maybe it's a direct substitute, I'm not sure, but that sure doesn't sound right, so I don't even think I'll bother testing it. I'll just test the new old stock when I pull that. Alright, that tests fine, like I thought it would. And I'll set it up for the 6BK7. Two 6.3 21. It's a two-section tube, so there are two tests here. Do the first one first. Up 6.7, down 5.8. Pop the tube in. shorts, no shorts, no shorts, no shorts. Part's okay. And up 1, 2, down 3, 5. And that tests good too. So I'll try putting in the proper 6AF4 and see how that works. I looked up the 6T4 online. It turns out that it is actually a valid substitute for the 6AF4. I put it in my tube tester and it did test okay, but I went with the 6AF4 anyways because that's what this schematic and design calls for. I also put in the new IF tube, and what do you know?
You maybe say
Seems to have done the trick.
You've got sort of the, you know, the green underneath, so it still looks okay. So what do you think, guys? Easy? Cute, cute, cute. So there you go, everybody. Some really simple ways to kick up that busy and get flatter. Everybody stay with us because we're checking out some of your DIY projects after the break. Later.
So I call this project a success. I hope you enjoyed this look at a Regency UHF converter.